Hey guys, my name is Ethan, this is Carberra, and welcome to the series where I teach you how to analyze and visualize data in Python. A lot of the time you may need to combine two data frames together or just add a few rows onto the end if we're missing any data for whatever reason, or sometimes you may want to remove invalid data or unneeded columns from our data set. So I'm going to be showing you how to do that. Of course, if you find the video helpful at any point, then consider liking to let me know and subscribing so you don't miss out on new videos in the series. But yeah, with that, let's get into it. As like last time, I've taken the liberty of kind of getting a bit of a head start. So the imports are all the same, there's only the one to do. All this is the same except that we're now loading the minimal 2020 dataset instead of the complete 2020 dataset because it's just easier to demonstrate the stuff I want to demonstrate. It's going to be easier to show that columns are added and removed, etc, if there's less columns. So if we just run this, we'll get the same error. I'm pretty sure I know what causes this. I imagine I've just recorded all these episodes in bulk, so I imagine someone has tried to tell me what's wrong here. I'm pretty sure I have already fixed it. I just need to reinstall Python to actually to do it properly. But either way, this is our data frame. As you can see, we just have day, views, likes, and dislikes. This is a very minimal data set, although we still do have all 366 rows, which is important to note. So we're going to start by adding and removing columns, and then we're going to do rows as well after that. So with the columns, it's actually really simple to create a new column. So we're going to create a column that essentially has the net likes versus dislikes. So it'd be all the likes versus all the dislikes. And we're going to call it net likes, like this. And we're going to say df likes minus df dislikes. And we're going to say that this is what we're assigning to this. So literally creating a column is this simple. If a column doesn't exist, it will just make one. You don't have to do anything. And then with this, it is a matrix operation, so there's no loops or anything. That's all handled in the back end. What this is doing is it's going row by row and saying that we need to subtract the number of likes from the number of dislikes and then appending that to the new row. It creates a new series. You know, when you take a series from a series, it creates a new series with everything. And it kind of just does everything in the background for you, which is really nice to have. So if we do df.tail, because this is where we'll actually be... This is where all the exciting data is. As you can see, at the start of 2020, the channel wasn't really known. As you can see, 24 minus 1 is 23, 41 minus 0 is 41. That was a particularly good day. 33 minus 6 is 27. It goes on, and then we can just try to ignore New Year's Eve. You don't need to look at New Year's Eve. That didn't happen. I don't know what happened on New Year's Eve, but apparently people really weren't in a good mood. Maybe that was a day where people realised they weren't that happy with their new technology or their new tablets broke. I don't know. Either way, we have our new column with our net likes that has our likes versus dislikes. That's really cool. So now that we've added one to the end, because this adds one to the end, what if you want to add one in the middle? What if you want to say put one between views and likes? Well, we can do that. To create a new cell, we can do that using df.insert. The first argument is the index in which the column will be. So this is column number 0, this is column number 1, and what this is saying is that this will, or this column that we are inserting will be column number 2 after the operation is completed. So currently likes is column number 2, but this will become column number 3, and the column that we insert will become column number 2, thus being in between views and likes. And we're going to call this views per like, which is not an amazingly helpful metric, but it's good for demonstration purposes. And we're going to have df views divided by df likes. And we're going to show df.tail again. As you can see, we have this metric here that shows that on the 27th of December 2020, I got 1 like on a video every 55.7 views approximately. But more importantly, this column has gone in between views and likes, which is exactly what we wanted. So that's really cool. So now that we've added a few columns, you know, there may be a few columns we don't want anymore. So we need to remove them, or more specifically, drop them. So we can drop by day, axis equals 1. We need to specify the axis because removing rows works in the same way, but I'll talk about that in a bit. So df.drop, if you pass in a string, it will look for a column with the matching name and then delete that column, so long as axis equals 1, which is important to note, and that actually has to be df equals df.drop as well. Interestingly, df.insert, you don't need to kind of reassign it. it just kind of works. That's interesting. But with a drop, it doesn't do it in place. Well, by default anyway. You can supply, I think it's in place equals true if you want to do it in place, but we're not bothering with that. And we can search df.head. As you can see, we've got a few infs on this, but that doesn't matter. As you can see, the day column is gone entirely. We don't care about when the data happened. We just care that it happened. In this particular use case, of course. So we can just get rid of the column and everything else is preserved. We still have all of our rows. If I just print here, we still have, why is that errored? Day not found in access because it's trying to drop it again. As you can see, we still have all of our rows and everything. And it all works just mighty fine. And we're actually going to need to, I'm just going to rerun everything just so it all resets. So now that we talked about how to add and remove and insert columns, we need to do the same for rows. So I'm going to be showing you how to append rows to a data frame and how to drop them. So this works a little bit differently. It doesn't perhaps work quite as you would expect. So we actually need to create a new data frame. We're going to call this df2. And this needs to be a pd.dataframe. And then we need to input our data. So this is going to be a list of lists, and for this example, it's going to be 1, it's going to be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We'll be able to see what's happening here. But essentially, in this list, you have a list of your row data. So this is what will go in views. This is what will go in views per like. This is what will go in likes, etc. And then this is all one row. And then this is all another row. So as you can see, our data frame currently has 5 columns, so we need to put 5 things in here, and then it has, we're adding 2 rows. And we also need to say columns equals df.columns. This is essentially just something that gets all the columns out of the data frame and just adds them to the data frame. It works quite simply. So if we do df2.head, for example, we can actually see this is what our data looks like. So we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We have the columns all the same. It's all well and good. So to append that to our other data frame, we need to do df equals df.append, df2. And then we actually need to do ignore index equals true. So what this will do is it will essentially reset our index for us. So if we don't do this, then we'll have, 0 to 365, and then it will start from 0 again and then go to 1. If we have ignore index equals true, then it will essentially just reset the index and it will go from 0 all the way down to the bottom of one clean line. If we do df.tail, we'll be able to see that in action. So you can see we have 363, 364, 365, and then we have 366 and 367 with 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, as we have added in here. So the last thing to do is to drop the rows. As I said before, it actually uses the same drop function, but if you pass in an integer, so say number 365, then it will drop the row with this particular index. So this row has an index of 365, so this is the row that will get deleted. As I said before, if you pass a string, it will look for a column. If you pass an integer, it will look for a row. It's dynamic. We need to do axis equals 0. I believe this is actually already set to 0 by default, but I don't want to risk anything. And we'll do df.tail, and as you can see, we need to do df equals df.drop, and I'm just going to rerun everything just to make sure it works. And as you can see, we go 362, 363, 364, 366, and 367. So this 365 record that was here, no longer there. That day never happened. Okay, we don't talk about New Year's Day. It never happened, and the data shows that. So yeah, that is how you add, insert, drop columns, and then add and then drop rows. I was quite a lot to talk about in this one, but it is really important knowledge to have before actually doing anything. Most of the time with data analysis, you are just going to be looking at data. You're not really going to be adding anything. It's more the removing that's going to be more useful. But yeah, if you do have any questions about anything you've seen in this video, then don't be scared to leave a comment down below, or you can join the Discord server using the link in the description. Help will probably be a little faster and more consistent over there, so I'd recommend doing that. But yeah, before I go, I'd like to thank my amazing patrons for being incredible. There we go, that's a good word. And I will see you next time where we talk about sorting and summarizing data within our data frame, which is really useful if you just kind of want, well, sorting is useful for its own purposes, obviously, but summarization is actually really good for just kind of seeing what the ranges of a data frame are, or like where our data lies, and you know what the tolerance and all the differences are, etc. So it's really just nice and useful to have. So we'll be doing that next time.